Such an unnecessary
I mean,
shot.
is Cooper Rush worth
That college
2.5
kick.
points?
I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Hey, good morning. Happy Monday to you all. We're doing the early show today because it's Martin Luther King Day and there are daytime NBA games. So we figured we should do it at 11 a.m., get through everything. We got an NBA game starting at noon. But this isn't going to be a long show. I promise you we'll get to it long before noon. We're only doing a college. We got the national championship game, a couple college basketball games, and we're getting right into the NBA. So Toast begged to be on the stream for the national championship. He was like,
He wanted to go first.
He wanted to go first. He's got so much to say. No, I'm joking. The only Toast is not a big college football guy. The only thing he has to say about college football is how much he hates the kickers.
They just don't have. They need somebody like a crazy linebacker, like a James Harrison or somebody, telling them they're going to beat their ass if they miss this kick. That's when you really start to find out who's real and who's not.
So you're saying there's a lack of fear with these college kickers?
Oh, absolutely. They have no fear. They could go up there and kick 5 field goals, miss them all, and have no problem going out there for kicking another one. That stuff doesn't happen in the NFL.
Wow, yeah, lack of fear. I could see that.
Doesn't happen.
So Scoop, we're on the same bet here for this game. I will say, I'm not loving some of the comments that are on Ohio State. On the video I uploaded, I am on Ohio State, but I'm not that. Wait, why? Where are my pick graphics? Why are they not coming up? One sec.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Hold on. Why are they not coming up? Oh, that's why. Boom. There we go. Prop Beaver's not here this morning, so.
That's why I was laughing in my head, because you couldn't blame him.
I know. I wanted to. So me and Scoop are both on Ohio State. I will say I don't have near the confidence that a lot of these people in the comments have. Best way to describe it is this: Notre Dame offensively, they're an offense that my mic's too loud. They're an offense that needs to run the ball, right? And I'm not seeing it here against Ohio State. Probably the best run defense in college football, certainly top 3. We saw Penn State take the run away from Notre Dame. Certainly Ohio State is capable of. And if it gets to passing downs for Notre Dame, if you guys watch the video, you heard me talk about it. I don't know how they're converting any sort of passing down. I mean, Notre Dame, terrible when it comes to passing down, 2nd and long, 3rd and long. And Ohio State's one of the best defenses in the country in those situations, mostly because of their pass rush. So Notre Dame's going to have to get 5 or 6 yards on first down every single time, or else the drive's going to stop. You add in the fact that Notre Dame's missing their left tackle. He just got injured last week. His name's Knapp, Knapp. He just got injured last week. He was a freshman. And the kid that's supposed to be starting on the offensive line because of that injury is also questionable. So Notre Dame's missing their left tackle. I think from what I'm reading, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to move their left guard over to left tackle. And the kid that's now supposed to start at left guard is also a freshman, and he's questionable. He's not even 100%. So everything I just said about the matchup between Notre Dame's offense and Ohio State's defense, the fact that Notre Dame, they get into these passing downs, I don't know how they're going to convert. Now you add on the fact that Notre Dame's offensive line is missing a key piece. And I mean, look, whenever you point out a blatant mismatch like that, obviously Freeman's well aware of it, and I'm sure they're going to come in with some kind of game plan. Maybe they keep a back end to help pass block. Maybe they have a tight end chipping all game. I'm sure they're going to have something in place to compensate for it. They're not going to let Riley Leonard just get teed off on all game. Like they're going to have something in place for it. And maybe maybe they outcoach Knowles here, and they just come out with something that Ohio State's not prepared for at all. I could see it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame is able to get down the field on the first drive, just with something that they drew up that was unexpected. But In terms of consistently moving the chains all game here, I'm not seeing it for Notre Dame. I think they're really going to struggle. Remember, in that Penn State game, Penn State gifted Notre Dame, 10 of those points? The 3 at the end. And didn't Notre Dame have not a defensive touchdown? Didn't they get gifted a touchdown in there? What am I missing, Scoop? What happened in that game?
I don't remember.
God damn. I was just talking about it last night. It's early. I kind of want to look now. I had it in my head that Notre Dame got gifted 10 points, but I don't want to say that. Let me just... I think there's a play I'm missing here. No.
I remember yesterday, so it's really hard.
I don't remember why I said gifted 10 points. Sorry about that. But regardless, Notre Dame wasn't consistently moving the ball in that game. They did a pretty good job, a lot better than I expected, but they weren't consistently moving the ball. And this Ohio State defense is just next level. And on the other side, Notre Dame has shown us they're vulnerable to the run, right? We've seen it time and time again. When they've seen offenses that can run the ball, they get run on. I know Indiana and Georgia didn't run the ball in Notre Dame, but those are not offenses that can run the football. Penn State is, and Penn State ran the ball successfully on Notre Dame. So I expect Ohio State to be able to run the ball. And then now you're talking about Will Howard and those receivers against man coverage with run support. And I do think Notre Dame's secondary is very good. That kid Watts is a beast. And I think Notre Dame is an excellent pass defense. So by no means am I saying Will Howard's just going to go off on Notre Dame like he did some of these other defenses. But I do think if Ohio State's able to run the ball, and those Ohio State wide receivers against man coverage is a secondary option offensively for the Buckeyes, I just think it gives them so much flexibility in terms of play calling. And I do think Ohio State's able to move the football. I'm not I know I said the word dog walking in the video. I'm not overly confident in it, but I do think there's a very good chance we see a blowout. It's not like it would be weird to see a blowout in the national championship. I mean, we've actually seen more blowouts in national championships than not blowouts. We've seen several blowouts in national championship games. I do think I'm on the right side. I got a -8. But yeah, I think Ohio State's going to be able to move the ball and run it. And I think Notre Dame's going to have to get real creative if they're going to move the ball on the other side.
Can I just add a quick side note, since I really can't add too much? I will say my uncle has been a gambler for 25 years. Said let us not forget, back when Notre Dame was back last in the national title game, they were the most public dog we have ever seen on the board in the history of college sports. Yeah,
and they got beat by like 40 by.
And they lost by 40.
What was that? Derrick Henry? Yeah, no, I think that was Eddie Lacy's Alabama team.
Yeah.
They got beat by. I remember I was watching that with my cousin, who's a diehard Notre Dame fan. He had like a whole party for it, and I sat in his living room watching it next to him. Like, oh man, it was bad. So someone said, I just want to know if Love will be able to run the ball. I think the answer to that has to be no. I mean, Notre Dame hasn't been able to run the ball the entire playoffs. They had one 98-yard touchdown run against Indiana. Other than that one run, really haven't been able to run the ball at all. They had like 2.7 yards per carry other than that 98-yard run against Indiana. In the Georgia game, it was Riley Leonard who was able to run the ball a little bit. Love wasn't. And then last week against Penn State, they couldn't run the ball at all. So Notre Dame hasn't been able to run the ball consistently at all. They broke that awesome run, that highlight reel run against Indiana. But other than that, Jeremiah Love really hasn't been much of a factor on the ground here in these playoffs. Scoop?
Yeah, so on this game, I mean, it's just hard for me to go against Ohio State. I actually really wanted to pick Notre Dame. I could have grabbed 9.5, I think, last night. But not only is Ohio State just a better team, like Kyle said, Notre Dame's hobbled up to be here. We know about Riley Mills getting hurt against Indiana, definitely their best defensive lineman, but they also lost their starting left tackle, like Sauce said, and Knapp. He got hurt against Penn State. Bo Collins got hurt too. Rocco Spindler got hurt. I just see Ohio State just being too much for Notre Dame. This really is the best defense in the country next to Texas. And with a beat-up offensive line, Ohio State should be able to pressure Leonard on most of his dropbacks. And as far as running the ball, which is really Notre Dame's bread and butter, Ohio State is rated one of the best run defenses in the country. Notre Dame does have a better rushing offense than Texas, but there only is going to be so much they can do on the offensive side of the ball. And on the other side of the ball, Ohio State should be able to run the ball effectively most of the game. Notre Dame has the #1 success rate on dropbacks, which should make Howard struggle a little bit, but Notre Dame is 60th in success rate on the ground. Juggins and Henderson picked apart a way better defense in Texas. And this game is going to wear Notre Dame as it goes on. I could see it being close at half. And I said it before, there's just no way I'm betting against Ohio State in the full game. Since that Michigan loss, they really found a groove on both sides of the ball. And I mean, just to go back on that number one success rate against the pass, sure, they're awesome, but I'm not taking anything away from Notre Dame. But besides that Indiana game and work, what other offense has they played that had a great downfield passer? And more importantly, the receivers that Ohio State has. This is by far the best offensive team that Notre Dame has faced all year. Egbuka, Tate, Jeremiah Smith had one catch against Texas. I feel like he's going to get more involved here. It's just a bad matchup with Ohio State. They're already limiting teams at 2.7 yards a carry, 89 yards on the ground. And, I mean, like Kyle said, if you want to go by trends, the last 6 national championship games are all by 15 points or more. So, I mean, Buckeyes, the only team in the country that allowed fewer points than Notre Dame. Their offense is peaking at the right time in the playoffs. The only way this game stays close is a couple takeaways from Notre Dame. I just don't see that. The fact is Ohio State just has a better line on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Notre Dame is still without 3 starting defensive linemen, a hobbled offensive line. So this should be Ohio State's game to lose for sure. Unless, on the other side of the ball, like Kyle said about the offense, but unless Al Golden really changes up the defensive scheme and Notre Dame has a more effective run offense, there's just no way. I wouldn't say a dog walking, but it should definitely be another 15-point championship win, I think, for Ohio State.
Vanda Bosch in the comments has said, without that scoop and score, the Ohio State-Texas game was 1 score. Absolutely. Would not disagree with that at all. I had Ohio State, and, yeah, it was a 1-score game. That being said, I think I would lay 3.5 with Texas to Notre Dame. I think Texas is a full 3 points better than Notre Dame. So, yeah, what was the Ohio State-Texas line, 6.5 scoop? What was that line?
Yeah, 6.5.
6.5. Now we're laying 8.5. So the market reflects that. I think Texas is significantly better than Notre Dame. I mean, the defensive front, Texas has got an elite run defense. We're seeing teams, anybody that has a decent rushing attack can run the ball in Notre Dame. We've seen it throughout the year. That is not Texas at all. You can't run the ball in Texas. So, yeah, I think Texas is I don't want to say significantly better. Like, I think Texas would blow Notre Dame out, but I think Texas is stronger than Notre Dame, certainly more talented. So, yeah, Buckeyes.
You damn right, baby.
We are 68%, 23% Buckeyes in our show. As far as the
Can I add a note?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Make myself look smart because I had smart people around me, like my uncle. My uncle told me to say, just for the record, guys, Notre Dame, that defense looks fantastic because they've only played 2 teams that have even comparable offenses in Louisville and USC. Ohio State's offense is 10 times better. And not to mention the fact, look at the wide receivers for those Louisville and USC teams. They absolutely smashed. Watch out for number 4 at Ohio State. I don't know that kid's name, but I know he's a beast, and I know he keeps on making me money. So Ohio State for me, they roll.
It's Jeremiah Smith or Egbuka are the 2 receivers, and Notre Dame runs man coverage. Notre Dame defensively is gonna have to pick their poison. We're either loading the box to take the runaway from Judkins and Henderson. If they do that, you have 2 NFL receivers against man coverage.
What's number 4's name?
Is 4? I think 4 is Jeremiah Smith, or is 4 Egbuka?
Yeah, okay. I think it's
those
Smith.
are the 2 receivers' names. I don't know which number is which, but those are the 2 receivers' names.
Yeah. Every time because I've bet Ohio State both their games because the first game they played against Oregon, and then I just rolled my money over just because. And that number 4 just popped off the screen every single time.
They also got a tight end, 88. He's got to be 6'6", huge.
He's got to be 6'6", 6'10", something.
Like every time he gets the ball, it's like, is that a power forward? Like the dude is massive.
Is that Antonio Gates back?
Yeah. Nice. All right, let's talk college basketball. I don't really understand. Georgetown was just laying a big number. Is the market just too? Oh, it's the injury. Okay.
One of them's back. Vanda Bosch is in the comments, I'm pretty sure. So, and he's like our Georgetown insider at this point. So, I'm dead serious. He was dead on last time. I mean, he has no reason, obviously, to BS us. He said that I think he said Schwarber's in and Epps is out.
Yeah, right. That's right. Schwarber's in, Epps is out.
Yeah. So I'll be on. I don't know how Scoop feels about this one. I mean, yeah, he's been way better than I have. So I'm on Georgetown here. So I don't know. I think these teams are very, very similar. I think that this game is going to be a crawl, as I like to say, not to mention the fact that Georgetown, one issue is they turn the ball over a lot, but that's not something that Villanova's defense has been doing at all lately. I think this is going to be a battle down low, and Georgetown should be able to handle themselves down low. Even without Swarber, with PV and stuff, they should be fine. Really, if you stop Eric Dixon, you slow down Villanova. So, also Georgetown, a better free throw shooting team in the country as well. Not nearly as good as Villanova. Obviously, Villanova is always one of the best. But as long as Georgetown just doesn't get absolutely torched from deep in this game, I think we're going to be all right. I think we're going to see only around 60, 65 possessions here. And if that's the case, getting 8.5, 9 should be enough here. So, I'm on Georgetown here. It's not one of my favorite bets today, but I did bet Georgetown.
Van den Bosch commented, Sorber's in, Epps is out.
Okay.
Is that what you were expecting?
Yeah, it just makes me happy because I wanted the height, and Sorber's the big guy, Epps is the guard.
Yeah, I'm all over Georgetown. Since Toast and I praised Georgetown and their turnaround, they lost 4 straight, so that's great.
They've covered.
Well, that's the thing. The Paul one was definitely their most embarrassing one.
Yeah.
Before that game, though,
not sorry.
They did compete against UConn, St. John's, Marquette. All 3 of those games were single-digit losses. Well, so was DePaul, but they were 9.5-point favorites. Yeah. But now they're 9.5-point dogs. Come on, man. Villanova is not a great team. I think this line is disrespectful to Ed Cooley. Okay, Nova beat UConn at home. UConn isn't UConn. Me and Toast said it in the beginning of the season. This team is a shell of itself. Then back-to-back losses to Xavier and St. John's, and they barely pulled it out against a struggling Providence team at home by 2. And that St. John's game, Georgetown put up a way more of a fight than Nova did against them. This is just a good offense against a bad defense in Nova, and a bad offense against a good defense in Georgetown. I know Georgetown hasn't shown much offensively, but their ability to press the perimeter and defend the rim is admirable, sir. I think I said it before with Georgetown a few weeks ago. Georgetown played a very easy schedule before Big East play, but it's not like they forgot how to play these past 4 games. At times, they look great. I know Eric Dixon is a top scorer in the nation for Nova. He's lights out right now, but this team is still 180th in defensive efficiency. Georgetown's going to have some easy buckets. So all 4 teams they lost to are better defensively than Nova, even DePaul. And opponents are still shooting 38% from the field, 33% from 3-point against the Hoyas. They're forcing 14 turnovers a game. They get 5 blocks a night. They're 8 steals. They're a good defensive team. So I know Georgetown isn't great at holding onto the ball, but it's not like Nova's a pressing team. They don't take the ball away either. They're going to have some time setting up plays. Just isn't Patrick Ewing's Hoyas. They're going to compete here. So I like Nova on the road. Georgetown on the road.
And I also like the fact that Georgetown has a pretty significant height advantage as well. So, inside is where Villanova can really beat you as well. And I think that Georgetown really holds up well inside, whether it be rebounding or scoring inside. So I feel like Georgetown is very similar to Providence. I think that Georgetown's a much better team than Providence, but I feel like this is the same type of game. I think that probably no team really gets out to like a double-digit lead for very long, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, over 2.5 Dixon threes I might take too. It's about -110.
I'm putting Nova up for me.
You said it's 2.5?
Everyone seems to be taking Georgetown. I'm putting Nova up. I'm not going to bet it, though. Rutgers, Penn State.
Scoop.
You better not be taking Penn State. Rutgers here, Toast.
I've already bet Penn State, so that's where I'm curious to see if Scoop's at.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Scoop is a Rutgers alum. So we have a Scarlet Knight on the show.
Oh yeah. To be thinking to begin of the season, I thought my team would be a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Sorry.
No,
I'm laughing because I thought the same about Gonzaga too, and now we're both fighting just to maybe make it. Yeah. And that's a dead honest decision.
Now I don't think they're making the NIT. The last 2 games were fine. A win against UCLA at the rack. Had their first quad win against Nebraska. Unfortunately, I think this is a Penn State spot. Coming off a 4-game losing streak, that Illinois game was gross, probably, but competed hard against Michigan State. They had a 1-point loss against Oregon. Now they're playing a Rutgers team that has 2 players. This team has no depth. They have Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, and this is nothing against those 2. Obviously, they're awesome, but really, though, the surrounding cast just doesn't do it. Just a quick trend if you want to trend. The last 10 games between these 2 all went under. So 10-0 against to the under if you want to go that route. But I'm not sure that's going to translate here because Rutgers just has really shied away from the defensive side of the ball, which is what Peichel preached all career. But now they have 2 stars on the team. I guess defense doesn't matter to this team anymore. This team in Penn State already lost to Rutgers earlier in the year, 80-76. I don't see that happening again. In that game, Bailey had 39. Harper and Bailey had 39. No other player had double digits, but Rutgers won that game because of foul trouble, 25 free throws to 9. I don't see that happening again either. And even when it does, Rutgers is such a bad free throw shooting team. Something Toast preaches. They're 257th in the country. They're shooting 69%. Last game against Nebraska, they shot 50%. UCLA 67%. They're winning those games despite their free throws. Ace Baldwin, DeMarco Dunn. I just see them having bigger games here. I think it's time for Rutgers to come back to your losing mentality. They're not a good team. I want winners. I want people who want to win. It's just a disappointing year for Rutgers. I see Penn State winning this one by like 10 or so.
Toast agrees.
Yeah, I do 100%. I think that Scoop and I both came into this year pretty high, or maybe hopefully high.
Everyone was high on Rutgers this year.
And I think that they are one of the prime examples that this is what happens if you spend all your money on 2 players, like Scoop mentioned. So are Bailey and Harper awesome? Absolutely. So fun to watch. I just wish that they had surrounding players around them that made them look good. So, yes, they beat a UCLA team that was on the last game with another East Coast road trip after traveling 15,000 miles. Like, you're supposed to win that game if you have a pulse. They did that. And then they go in and they meet Nebraska. And I told you guys Nebraska's not good. So I've been saying this. I don't know why everybody thinks that this team is good, but you don't really get brownie points from me for beating Nebraska. Albeit on the road, very impressive. Nebraska has been playing really well at home, but again, I don't really put too much stock into that. And then you have a Penn State team that, they lost to Rutgers earlier in the year. They rattled off 4 wins against nobody, and then they've lost 4 in a row. But to who? The top 10 are the top teams of the Big Ten Conference: Indiana, Illinois, Oregon, Michigan State. I mean, all those teams. And you play those teams 4 times in a row at home or on the road. Most teams in this country are going to maybe go 2-2 in that scenario. So I'm not saying everybody's going to go 0-4, but there's going to be a lot of teams that you don't think that are probably going to go 0-4 in that team. So the one thing a couple of things that I like about Penn State as well, obviously Scoop touched on it, the huge free throw advantage. If this game is going to be within a possession or 2, we have a team that's a top 50 free throw shooting team in Penn State and like around 300 free throw shooting team in Rutgers. Not to mention the fact that Rutgers defense doesn't turn the ball over. And I think that, again, Scoop touched on this as well. If Penn State stays out of foul trouble with Baldwin and Kern and Niederhauser, or however you say his last name, they should be all right because Rutgers doesn't force any turnovers and Penn State doesn't turn the ball over. So I also like the fact that Penn State doesn't really rely on the 3-point shot. I mean, they shoot it well, but a lot of their stuff comes inside. And if they're going to be forcing Rutgers to foul, which they haven't had to do a lot this year, I think that could spell out of trouble. Also, another thing that I like is the Penn State pace. Rutgers has been playing with a little bit of pace lately. Penn State can match that, and I think that's going to be huge for a team like Rutgers. Because they haven't really had to deal with the pace of anybody like Penn State. The last couple times that they've seen teams that play anywhere close to the pace that Penn State plays was Indiana. They lost that game by 10, and then Columbia, which doesn't have necessarily at all the talent that Penn State has. So I think this is a really good matchup for Penn State. I agree with Scoop. I think they win this game by 10+.
All right, let's do some NBA.
Look at Chris with his Redskins hat over there.
Oh, is Chris in here?
Unbelievable.
All right. See you later, Scoop.
Later, man.
All right. Oh, shit. I'm not on the screen. One sec. Yeah, I see you multiple times a day. I don't always see Scoop. That's why I say goodbye to Scoop and not you. All right. Let's get Chris on the screen. And I know Chris doesn't want to, but we need to talk Hornets ball here.
It's not that I didn't want to, Kyle.
Chris, you openly skipped the game on your show. I was there.
I did, but it wasn't because I didn't want to. It was because I saw other opportunities on the board that I thought were better. But I think whatever you're about to say, I'm gonna agree with. But
the market moved against me, though.
So you like Dallas?
No, I took Hornets plus 5.5 and over 224, but you can get better numbers on both sides right now.
Well, that's just because of the injury report since your show has started. You probably didn't see the updated news. Derek Lively got ruled out, so the total.
Oh, that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, and the line is now 4.5 consensus.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. You just.
I love it when a plan comes together, Chris. I love it when a plan comes together. I didn't even know that until just now.
Yeah.
So all right, I'll put my bets up. I put a half unit on each, so I bet both of these. I bet this game 2 ways. Let's get up. I got oh damn it. 1 second. Whenever a game's at 12 noon, it automatically sorts 12 to the back. Gotta fix that in the graphics. All right, so I got Hornets. I got I didn't get +6. I got +5.5 for those playing the home game. And then I also got over 224. So those are the numbers I personally got.
Nice.
Hornets and overs, bet them both. Well, if you guys remember, I had Bulls Hornets over a few nights back as one of my favorite plays of the night, and I think since the way the type of basketball Charlotte's playing right now, I don't think the market has really caught up to yet because of how they were playing a month ago. When LaMelo Ball was out, this is a very slow-paced team. This is a team that couldn't score. Completely different type of basketball. And then LaMelo Ball comes back in the lineup. It didn't happen overnight, though. It's not like you threw LaMelo Ball in there, and then all of a sudden they were an over team. It kind of slowly transitioned to that, and I'm not sure the market has 100% caught up to it yet. The Hornets are playing an extremely fast pace. So the idea of Dallas laying 5.5, well, I guess that's 4.5 now, points on the road right now in their current state. Since Luka Doncic got hurt, what are they, like 2-10 against the spread? They've been a terrible team to back since Luka Doncic got hurt. And yes, I know Kyrie missed a chunk of games in there as well, but even when Kyrie plays, they're not much of a reliable bet right now. So as soon as I saw the number, I knew I wanted to bet Charlotte. And then I saw Lively questionable, and he's since been ruled out. And yeah, I'm convinced I'm on. Oh, I shouldn't say I'm convinced I'm on the right side. I really do think I'm on the right side here. I actually think Charlotte wins. I'm not saying go bet the money line. I'm just saying I do think they win the game. So I like Charlotte to move a fast pace here. I think we're going to see points. I also like a Hornets team total over. The Hornets defense isn't all that great, and Dallas is most definitely capable of scoring points when Kyrie plays. But with no Luka, they've been a terrible team to bet, terrible value. And with no Lively, big chunk of their defense gets taken out as well. So Charlotte, wow, everyone's betting Dallas in the comments? Am I seeing this poll right? Oh, no, it's about split. Okay. So, Chris, do you agree with me?
Yes, I agree with everything you said. I actually played this one live, Cal, on my show as soon as somebody put it in the comment section that Lively was out, and I was like, oh, I got to take over. I got it went all the way down to 222.5, and then it got bet back up. So it's about 224 right now. Definitely agree with the movement coming in on the over. With Lively off the floor, well, on-off numbers for Lively specifically, they look like they're giving up about 5 more points per 100 possessions without Lively on the floor. So you mentioned that defense taking a big step backwards. I agree with you both ways, Kyle. I think Dallas. You mentioned how bad Dallas was playing, but you didn't give the numbers. They're 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games. And you also mentioned the pace. This is the part at the beginning of your cap, Cal, that I absolutely 1,000% agree with. It's the pace that Charlotte is playing with and the market not catching up. So on the full season, if you put some numbers to that, Charlotte is a very slow-paced team. They're actually, They're actually 21st in pace over the full season. Last 5 games, though, they're 8th in pace. Exactly. A lot of that has to do with LaMelo, like you said. And it's the offensive efficiency as well. Offensively, they're the 3rd worst offensive team in the NBA. Like, we remember without LaMelo, they were going under. Like, they could barely get to 100 points at times. Last 5 games, however, they're actually 16th in offensive efficiency. So middle of the pack versus being the 3rd worst. So I do think they're going to play with pace as well. I think Dallas is going to get up and down the floor. Quentin Grimes is also ruled out. I kind of worry about Dallas being able to score, Kyle. Like, I like the the points, the spread more than I like the actual total now.
Now with Kyrie,
you think they'll be able to get it done?
think so.
I know LaMelo on the floor is a negative for your defense. Like I do understand that, so I do think it's going to be played with a lot more pace. But I kind of wish I had a Dallas plus. Charlotte plus 6 as well, Kyle, with you. But I'll just play over because I do got some other bets on the board. I actually got a lot more open tickets than I typically do when I'm on your show. So I got about 5 bets open right now. It's giving me a little bit of anxiety, if I'm being honest.
Well, if you look at it, so the games. Oh, hold on, let me pull it up. Last game, they had one bad quarter against Oklahoma City, and number one, that's Oklahoma City, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. The 2 games against Denver where they weren't scoring, Kyrie didn't play in one of those. If you just isolate it to the games where Kyrie played, let's see, Portland, Sacramento, Houston. They only score points in one of those. So yeah, I mean, I guess Dallas offense maybe not as reliable as I anticipated, but it is the Hornets playing at a fast pace. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
All right. Let's move on to the next game. And this next one, is it the Houston game? Yeah, Detroit, Houston.
What's your gut say, Cal?
I was searching last night and then again this morning for ways to get to Detroit, to get to the Pistons here. And I was unable to find. I mean, I really don't like how the Pistons rebound, but can you really take them to win the rebounding battle on the road here? Houston, the best offensive rebounding team in the NBA. My heart says Detroit is strong inside, and with no Jaden Ivey, they become stronger inside because those minutes go to guys like Asar Thompson and Tobias Harris, guys that are more physical, better rebounders. So I think the current version of the Pistons right now without Jaden Ivey, not saying they're better without Jaden Ivey, I'm just saying they're a little bit different of a team, and they're a very strong rebounding team. So part of me wants to take Detroit, be like, hey, they can go in there and out-rebound Houston. But if you just take a look at Houston's game logs, I don't know if that's 100% true. I mean, it's tough. I really, really want to take the Pistons here. Couldn't do it. In fact, the more I looked at it, the more I started to think maybe I should lay it with Houston. I didn't bet it, but I originally started looking at the game, wanting to take the points with the Pistons, and after I was done looking, I was like, Rockets are pass. So that's how I feel about the game. I didn't actually bet it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you as well, Kyle. It sucks that if you want to hear something different, you're not gonna hear something different. We landed at the same conclusion, Kyle. I didn't bet this one, but my reasoning is, I guess, a tad bit different from yours. Is that as you said, Detroit, they've been a road dog, I think 16 times this season. They're 11-6 against the spread. This is a team that typically covers. Like, you want Detroit when they're catching points, not when they're laying points or, in a one possession type game. We talked about this, I think, on Friday, Kyle. Just Detroit recently. I wouldn't say that they're fool's gold. I would say that the market is kind of caught up to Detroit a little bit, and they have played the 22nd easiest schedule over the last 5 games. And defensively, they've been really giving up points. I played over when they were at home against the Phoenix Suns the other day. First half over at 110.5, and it was like 121 point score. I think that this is an over game, Kyle. Talk me off the over. So we got Detroit. They're scoring the basketball. They're pretty efficient. They're about middle of the pack in offensive efficiency. 8th in pace. I love to see that. I'm not a big believer in their defense. I just watched them give up a bunch of points. I think looking at Houston, the way that they're playing basketball right now, another team, top 5 in pace. They're 4th. Offensively, they're one of the better teams that we've seen. I don't know if it regresses here because I don't believe in Detroit defensively. Last 5 games, Houston, 5th best offense. Like I said, playing at a really fast pace, 9th in strength of schedule. And then I also think this was one of the reasons why I couldn't get to Detroit. They turn the ball over a lot. Houston loves ripping turnovers. So Detroit, 22nd in turnover rate last 5 games on the full season. Also bottom 10 in turnover rate. And Houston, they like forcing turnovers, 17% turnover rate for their opponent, which is the 4th best over the last 5 games. So I think that they'll be able to get out and run. I think both of these teams will get up and down the floor. I like over, Kyle. I think it's some 222.5s out there. I didn't pull the trigger on it, but I do think this game's going to be played with pace, and I think that's what I like a little bit more than trying to take the points with Detroit here. But if I had to bet it, I think I'd take the points with Detroit, thinking they can keep it close. And Houston got Cleveland coming up, Kyle. I don't know how much they go look ahead to that. But they do got the Cavs coming up.
If it was an elite Western Conference team like Oklahoma City, maybe, but I don't know how much they give a shit about Cleveland. I mean, not saying they don't give a shit, but like it's an Eastern Conference team. It's not like the Oklahoma City Cleveland game when everyone was like NBA Finals preview. It doesn't have that same feel. And to what you said about Detroit being quote unquote fool's gold, this is when we all started to love this Detroit team. I'm just going to read you their stretch of schedule where they were playing well. And everyone was like, wow, this Pistons team is pretty good. They played the Kings before they started winning, the Suns, the Lakers, the Magic with all the injuries, the Hornets, Timberwolves, Blazers, Nets, Warriors, Raptors. I mean, a very easy stretch of schedule. And yeah, dude, handling your business against easy teams is part of the job. And there's something to be said about that. There are teams that don't handle their business against the bad teams. We see teams stumble and fall all the time. So Pistons are definitely a solid team. They're not a bad basketball team. They're not last year's Pistons, but on the road at Houston is about as tough as it gets in terms of a spot. And I don't think they're quite there yet where I'm going to put my money on Detroit going into Houston and playing them down to the wire. So it would be Rockets or pass from here.
What's your thoughts on the total, Kyle?
I actually was kind of considering under, but it's hard because I if you look at recent pace, the Rockets they're speeding it up now. So I
Detroit
guess
is too.
I don't know. The Rockets are really good defensively at what Detroit's trying to do. What does Detroit do? They get out in transition. They run the pick and roll. The Rockets are 4th and 6th in defensive efficiency against those two. I don't know. I think Detroit might get clamped here.
Okay.
I like that Rockets defense. Minnesota, Memphis. I mean, how do we even talk about this game? We got Ja Morant questionable. We got Rudy Gobert questionable. Those are pretty pivotal pieces.
So Ja upgraded, Cal, maybe 10 minutes ago. I think I saw it. Since we've been on your show, he is 40 minutes ago. He is now probable. But I do think that like you said, Rudy Gobert is still listed as questionable, and Dante DiVincenzo is out already as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to go Memphis, right? Is this number still 5.5, or is it moved?
I think it moved. I bet it last night. I did take Memphis minus
6.5 now.
Yeah, 6. So that, to me, when I see stuff like that, it makes me think that like people that are betting know more than I know about like the injury status, because I don't think that this line will move in favor of Memphis. Not this is the tad bit disrespectful in my opinion. Minnesota is not that bad of a team, but maybe people know that Rudy Gobert isn't going to play. And where does Memphis like to live, Kyle? What's their favorite shot zone?
Attack
the rim, right? Yeah. So if Nas Reed is down there with no Rudy Gobert, this is going to be a layup line for Memphis. A team that's number 2 in offensive efficiency, number 1 in offensive efficiency, playing at a very, very fast pace. I bet him last night to try to get ahead of that. I see Ja listed as questionable. Edie is off the injury report. Even Gigi, I'm not sure if he'll be in the rotation, but it'll be his first game, I think, of the season as well. And I think it's a little bit of a fatigue spot for the Timberwolves as well. I don't like it at 6.5. Like, I think that's a tad bit disrespectful, because if I want the Timberwolves, I want them catching points versus laying points. They're only 1-3, I think, against the number. We just saw them laying points at home against the Golden State Warriors. They lost the game outright. But then they go into Madison Square Garden and they beat your Knicks. You know what I mean? So it's been kind of back and forth for them. But as far as the fatigue spot, Kyle, I think it's been like 15 straight games that they've played in a different arena. Like, they have not had back-to-back home games, just flying back and forth. On Friday, they were at Madison Square Garden. On Saturday, they had the Cavs come to town. Now they get no practice time, get right back on the flight, got to fly to Memphis. And Memphis, they just beat the San Antonio Spurs back-to-back. It is their first game back home after a 3-game road trip. I think it was 3 games. But 2 of those last games, they didn't have to travel at all. They were just in San Antonio looking at the boardwalk or whatever they got down there. So no travel at all, just coming back home. They won the last one without Ja, right? And I also feel like, I know you're probably not going to buy into this, but like the MLK Day games for Memphis specifically and Atlanta specifically are typically like games that they absolutely turn up
Memphis
on. Like, if you go through,
significant with that too? I know Atlanta.
Yeah, Memphis and Atlanta, they both typically win, and they win big on MLK Day games. That's not part of the handicap, but it is a little cherry on top. I just think that the other thing was, and I'm being long-winded, but the other thing was, if you look at Minnesota defensively, which is, I think, their bread and butter, they've struggled. I think bottom 5 defensive rated team over the last 5 games. That could be some of the travel kind of catching up with Dante DiVincenzo there for the offensive side of the basketball. I think that they could, struggle to knock down those threes, and that's the thing that they've been doing the best at. Mike Conley is a downgrade in my opinion at this point in his career. So, like I said, I laid it 3.5. I do feel like 6.5 is a tad bit disrespectful, though. What are your thoughts?
I looked at the game last night, saw Gobert and Morant questionable. I said, fuck that. If you're asking me how I would play it, well, the answer is I'm not going to play it. But if you put a gun to my head and force me to play this game, I'd wait and take Minnesota on the tail end of the market, hopefully get like an 8.5 or something. Just wait until hopefully Gobert gets ruled out and the number just shoots up and everyone rushes to bet Memphis, and I could just bet the tail end of the market on the other side, hopefully get some value. I don't even know if that's a good decision. Just saying.
You agree with the total, Kyle, going up? It's up to 237.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota's been scoring. We were talking about this yesterday or a couple days back. Minnesota's been hitting their shots, and I don't think Gobert out necessarily changes that. In fact, might speed up the pace. Maybe Minnesota can go toe-to-toe. It's not like Memphis is an elite defensive team.
That's true.
Maybe Minnesota could just go toe-to-toe. They are hitting their shots, and let's not act like they don't have any talent they could score. Of course they do. So, yeah, I would agree with the total going up. If Gobert's out, I don't really think you can make this total high enough. I mean, I know you look at Minnesota, they've been running a slow pace. You take Gobert out, you put him in Memphis against this team, this might just be a shootout. So yeah, that's the way I would go. Over or Minnesota plus the points at the tail end of the market. I'll put over up. So for those of you that just fast forward through the end, and there you go. That's what I would do. Next game. Did you just hate on Mike? Someone said easy with the Mike Conley hate. Were you hating on Mike Conley in there?
I was saying that Mike Conley is a little older. I love Mike Conley. I've always loved Mike Conley. Since his time in Memphis. I just said he was a little older right now. And I think, everybody else is figuring that out as well. Chris Finch put him on the bench so he could run the second unit to get more scoring in there because it's a down year if you go look at Mike Conley's numbers. But I love Mike Conley. He's a pro's pro.
He's a pro's pro. Just a little older, he said. It's ageist, but it might be true. I just like to debunk a myth here. Trae Young does not kill the Knicks. That's got to be like Mythbusters on that shit. Go look at Trae Young's numbers against the Knicks. Yo, Trae Young killed the Knicks. You said
this last game, Cal, when they came to Madison Square Garden. I remember this conversation.
Yeah, I don't know where, he played really well against the Knicks in that playoff series. And, the narrative was born that, Trae Young hates the Knicks and, it's not really a thing. I mean, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, as you guys know. I like Trae Young a lot. I don't know if you guys saw the interview he did, but the Knicks fans were giving it to him pretty hard a couple years back, and they were I mean, you know how people are, saying disrespectful, over the top shit, shit that even I as a Knicks fan would see and be like, oh my god, chill. And they asked him about it. What do you think of these New York fans? And he was super cool about it. He was like, no, I love it. This is why we play the game, is for these rivalries. I love coming here, and maybe like them. But what I'm talking about is specifically that Trae Young kills the Knicks. That's not true. I mean, in his last 8 games against the Knicks, he's shooting 34% from the floor, 23% from 3, something like that. He's actually really struggled against the Knicks in terms of shooting the ball. He did a couple nice performances in terms of distributing. It's not that he's played absolutely terrible, but his shooting percentage against the Knicks is awful. That being said, I'm not laying 6.5 here, but if I'm going to get Josh Hart and Towns, I'd consider it. Go ahead. I know you're on the Hawks.
I'm not, though, Kyle. I'm not. I didn't bet it.
You are. You said you were on the Hawks. I watched your show.
No. You got to go back and rewind it. I never said. I don't have a slip. They were on my short list, which was in red. But I said what you said. I don't want to bet that. I would go opposite of what you just said, though. I would wait, and that's the plan. I don't even know if I'm actually bet it because I got so many.
Hold on, I gotta cut you off because this comment just made my point. He said Trae Young has averaged 25.4 points, 9.6 assists against the Knicks in his career. That's killing. Yeah, dude, that was 3 years ago. Go look at his that. We're talking about years old. That's what I'm saying. Is in the last 8 games he's been terrible. He hasn't gone off against the Knicks in years. People say that every single time, and every single time I'm like, guys, what do you the 2022? We're talking years ago, 3 years ago. All right, go on, Chris.
Yeah, no. People still got the for the people that's been watching basketball for a while, Kyle, they probably still got the thought in their head, where it was what was that playoff series with him and Julius Randle kind of going back and forth, and Trey got the better of him. Those playoff moments, I think, like really solidify, the thought process of how people think about the games, and then they, not following it afterwards. So I agree with what you're saying there. The numbers back it up. You talked about it the last time that these two teams played, which was the Cup game, and you had the Atlanta Hawks go into MSG and win that game outright. They've actually beat the Knicks twice so far this season, both as 7 and 8 point dogs. And I do think it's a little bit of a matchup thing. I think that they're just rebounding the ball really well. Atlanta also playing really well. They've won 3 straight. They've covered 3 straight in general. Jalen Johnson is back now. So I think you wait and get a better number, because I do think that it moves towards the Knicks if Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart. You don't think if they get rolled in, you think it's gonna move the other way?
I mean, I think everyone's betting the Hawks here. I think everyone's betting the Hawks here.
So the reason why I didn't bet the reason why I didn't bet the Hawks, Kyle, is because the Knicks gonna get it together sooner or later. I just worry about Karl Anthony Towns and that hand injury. He's missed back-to-back games, right? He didn't play the Philly game, didn't play the Minnesota game, and we talked about this last week. If Thibodeau is your coach, that's like asking your dad and your mom, can you stay home from school when you just got a cough? It's a hell no. You're taking your ass to school. So if he misses a game, that's alarming in my opinion with who his coach is. This is not, some other coach that, just doesn't care if their players are playing. He's not Greg Popovich, not, Joe Mazzulla over there. But then on top of that, he missed the game against the Timberwolves. That's his old team at his home arena now. So I think that was pretty alarming for him to miss that game. I know he went through practice yesterday, him and Josh Hart, but I think that could affect the game a little bit. I think the line moves the opposite way, and then I think you take Atlanta. But double revenge spot, Knicks off a loss. I typically like to back them in that spot. So it's a tough game, especially not knowing if those guys are going to play. It's a pass for me, but I would like Atlanta plus the points if we can get like a +8 with Josh Hart and both Karl Anthony Towns in.
Trae Young's games against the Knicks. I have them open here. In his last 8 games against the Knicks, he's gone over 20 points just 3 times.
Killing.
I was just saying, and like also when someone goes last game he had 22 and 11. Yeah, he's had some good assist performances against the Knicks. But in that game where he had 22 points, he was 8 of 22 from the floor. If you take 22, you have 22 field goal attempts, 22 points is not a good night.
That's like 75%, Cal. He's killing.
I like Trae Young. I'm just saying, like, for people that they always say that every time the Hawks play the Knicks, they're like, Trae Young 30 plus, and it's like, well, guys, he doesn't even do that. Like, that's not even a thing. It's 3 years old. But anyway, I'm not betting this game.
Me either.
He said last 10 matchups against the Knicks. Yeah, notice you say 10. Oh, my God. You say 10 because 9 and 10 were 45 and 29. Go ahead and do the last 8. We're getting back into 2022 again. Yo, see what I mean? People are, like, desperate to hold on to this narrative. Doesn't matter how untrue it is. Last 10 matchups. Keeps the one in that had 45 points at 29 from 3 years ago.
So what you're saying, next year, Cal, they're going to go last 13? Just keep moving the goalpost?
I guarantee you he could do nothing. He could score. He can go 7 of 25 tonight with 18 points. Next time the Hawks play the Knicks, same exact comments. Like, it's just like, this is my narrative. This is what I believe. It doesn't matter what happens. This is what I'm going to say, because this is what I say when the Hawks play the Knicks. Next up, Suns. All right. Suns Cavs. You got something for this one?
Yes, sir. I did bet it. I bet the Suns.
Let's go. Me too.
You bet the Suns?
It's my favorite bet of the day.
Good. Mine too. It's so funny you said that. What could possibly go wrong here?
There's no way we'll lose when we both love the bet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe if we play it before the game on the show, it don't go well. But yeah, I bet Phoenix here plus the 8. I just think it's a tad bit disrespectful. Maybe the market hasn't caught on quite to the Mark Williams, addition. I know I watched your show on Saturday, Kyle. You talked about loving that addition for the Phoenix Suns team. We know that they lost you some money last week because they suck at rebounding against Atlanta. And now they got a rebounder. Nick Richards was a plus 22, which was the best on the floor in that game against Detroit. Another really good rebounding team. He had 21 points on 7 for 8 shooting and finished with 11 rebounds in that game. That's exactly what you need. So you add, something that the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Phoenix Suns need a lot in a rebounder, a post presence, somebody that's going to be able to box out so KD can go back to his natural position of playing the 3. Somebody that's going to get second chance points, come in there, play with a lot of energy and effort. And then you subtract Evan Mobley. And this team is giving up about 5 more points per 100 possessions without Evan Mobley on the floor. I would love to have Bradley Beal in. I know he's listed as questionable. I watched some post-game practice, some post-practice stuff yesterday. He looked like he was moving pretty well. He was getting to his step back. Ankle looked pretty well. So I'm thinking he's going to play. And then on the opposite side, Kyle, it's the Cavs just really struggling defensively. Last 5 games, they're the 3rd worst rated defensive team. They're 9th in forcing turnovers on the full season, but they're actually forcing the 2nd fewest turnovers over the last 5 games. So we've seen some regression from them defensively. And then the other part of it was just the shot zones. Like if you match the 2 teams up on the floor, we know the Phoenix Suns live in the mid-range. That's where they take a bunch of their shots. They're 3rd in mid-range frequency, 3rd in mid-range frequency, and they're shooting a league high 56% over the last 5 games from the mid-range. Meanwhile, Cleveland is bottom 5 in opponent mid-range frequency and opponent mid-range accuracy over the last 5 games. Phoenix also getting downhill in the paint, 5th in frequency, 1st in accuracy over the last 5 games. Cleveland is bottom 5, and I don't think in opponent paint accuracy, and I don't think it's going to get any better without having Mobley in there. So I do think Cleveland is the better team. I think Phoenix is in better form, and I think that 8 is a tad bit disrespectful here, Kyle. This should be about maybe 6.5 in my opinion, but I grabbed the plus 8 last night. It's actually my favorite play on the board as well.
I agree. And 1 second, I'm putting this up real quick to respond to the guy who still doesn't get it about Trae Young. He goes, he averages a double-double in his last 8 games. Yeah, no shit. He averages a double-double. On the season, Trae Young is averaging 23.2 points per game, 11.8 assists per game. That's Trae Young's season average. In his last 8 games against the Knicks, 20 points per game, 10 assists a game. So actually against the Knicks, it's below his average production. So that's how it's not killing the Knicks, if it's below his average production.
No, it's killing, Kyle, if you average less, like, against the team, right? Like, maybe killing means the opposite these days.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Like, if you're averaging less than your average game production, then you're actually getting killed by the team. But, yeah, absolutely. Cleveland's defense is terrible right now. They have one of the worst defenses in the NBA right now. They're, I think, like 28th, 27th in defensive efficiency in the last 5 games. Their defense has been trending in the wrong direction for a while now. Now they're playing without Evan Mobley, one of their most important defensive pieces. Say less. And by the way, the Suns fixed their problem, Chris. Nick motherfucking Richards. Rebound king, board king. Suns are winning this game. I didn't bet the money line, though. I just bet the 7.5.
Me too. I just bet the 8. Nick Richards' double-double, Kyle, was plus 1,000 against Detroit the other day. He cashed it, of course, with 21 and 11, I think. Today, it's plus 225 for people who may want to sprinkle on Nick Richards because he played 30 minutes, and I think that's going to continue. I don't think Nurkic is ever going to touch the floor ever again for this team, and it'll just be Plumlee coming off the bench with Oso, who's a rookie out there, playing the backup big minutes.
I need to address the allegations. I don't hate the Cavs. I hate the market's evaluation of the Cavs. There's a difference. I know people are making fun of me that I blew up the Trae Young graphic. I have like a disorder, like I need to win an argument type of shit. And like I can't and especially if I know I'm right, like I can't just let that go. And like I need to make sure that I need to make sure he knows he lost. I need to make sure everyone knows he lost that debate.
Hey, Kyle, you're gonna lose a lot. You're gonna lose a lot of sleep and a lot of your time arguing with people with 113,000. I was gonna say 113,000 followers.
Put together, like I'm a mess, man. I need to win. Yeah. All right, next up, Boston, Golden State. Man, what the fuck? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Golden State catching 10.5 points. Now I'm assuming this because Steph is questionable, right?
Yeah, he said he plans to play Kyle after they beat the Wizards the other day, but then he popped up on the injury report as questionable. So the plans to play came out on Friday night. Oh, I'm sorry, on Saturday night, and then the questionable popped up yesterday. But of course, there's no Draymond, no Brzezinski, no Kuminga, and then Boston. You know, all the troops
Kuminga's
flew
been
in.
out though. Kuminga's been out.
Yeah, he has. But I'm just saying, like they're still shorthanded, and all the troops flew in for Boston in this one. I think Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett even got a jacket. A suit, a jersey is what I mean to say for this one. They brought everybody with them to Boston. As far as injury report, nobody's on the injury report. Just nobody's on the injury report. That's all.
I misunderstood your metaphor.
Yeah, just nobody's on the injury report.
So are the Celtics back? So
I don't think so. I don't think they're back. But go ahead. Let me hear what you got to say about this game.
This is a pass for me.
Okay. All right. I bet Celtics last night. It's a couple different things I like in this one, and primarily at 10, I don't like it. I'll say that. That's a big number, but the Celtics do bounce back in this spot. They're coming off a loss. They lost to Atlanta. They've been extremely inconsistent. I get it. I think they've alternated wins and losses in, I think it's like 7 straight games now. They smoked the Magic on Friday, beat them by 30, but then turn around and, take out Porzingis and take out Al Horford on Saturday. They lose outright. I was on Atlanta in that spot, so that felt good. Plus 10.5. But you typically don't want to fade Boston after they're coming off a loss. They are, I think, the best team in the NBA this season, coming off a loss, 13-4. I think it might not be 13-4. I think it's 8-3 against the number, coming off a loss, and they typically play really good defense in that spot. League-wide trend. Shout out to GLB. He sent this in the Discord. I think he sent it on the show on Friday. Double-digit teams that are coming off losses, the double-digit favorite bounce back. 13-4 against the number, which is 76.5%. I'm looking at the way, and I do think the other play, because I played this game twice. I played the Golden State team total under as well. They're scoring 9 fewer points with Draymond not on the floor. And we know that offensively, they've looked like a complete shell of themselves. You got Buddy Hield running around out there shooting 25% from the three-point line. Now you add in Gary Payton II or the third. I think he's second. Gary Payton II. And he's also, a defensive player that's not an offensive player. Boston has struggled both playing in Golden State for whatever reason. I think they've lost like the last 3 games in Golden State. But this has been this is a much more depleted team, like you said. I can't even remember the last time that the Celtics were getting 10.5 points as a dog. Like that seems like it. I mean, that the Warriors have been given 10.5 points as a dog. I think that, the number is a tad bit too high. This opened at 5 yesterday. Midday, Kyle, while football was on, this was at 5 yesterday. And it's been bet all the way up. So a little bit more just about the team total for the Golden State Warriors. They've only been a home dog 5 times this season. And they're 4-1 to the under. They stand under their team total by about 10 points. They're averaging 101 points. So when the Warriors become a home dog, their offense turns into the Orlando Magic. And I do think that Boston defensively, with having Porzingis back, they should be able to protect the rim. I expect them to be locked in and focused, coming off a loss. Also in a revenge spot, we hit on Golden State plus the 7. I think you were on that with me earlier, Kyle, this season. I think you had a Golden State plus 7 ticket as well when they went into Boston and won that game outright this season. Yep. They were much better formed then. I don't like Golden State at all in this spot. So team total under, I got it at 108.5 last night. I think it is down to 106.5. And I played Boston a little bit on the -7. I also played them first half full game on the money line at -130.
I mean, I agree that the pace indicates it should be an under. I don't know. This NBA Finals rematch, don't you think we could turn into a 3-point shootout?
Yeah, but do you think Golden State going to be able to make threes?
On paper, they shouldn't, but in front of their home fans and the rematch here. Although, of the NBA Finals team, how many are even playing in this game? Wiggins and maybe Steph?
Wiggins and Steph, I think. Maybe Moody wasn't on that team, was he? Looney?
Yeah, so no, I'm not betting this game. Straight up.
Yeah.
Can we talk about a real team? Let's talk Jazz ball. Jazz, Pelicans in New Orleans. I didn't take the Jazz the other night, but the Jazz were on a little bit of, this is the second, these two teams just played in this same arena, same spot. Pelicans covered this big number. I think the line was identical. I think it was also 11.5.
Yep.
The Jazz have been playing decent basketball. They were missing Markkanen and Clarkson in the last one, and they're going to be missing Markkanen and Clarkson again. They're 2-2 against the spread in their last 4 games without those two guys. It's not like they can never win or they can never cover without them. In fact, some of these other pieces, the likes of Sensabaugh, are really turning it up. I'm inclined to glance at Sensabaugh overs because the man just knows how to put the ball in the bucket. He's an absolute gunner. He's projected to see 27 minutes in this one. I don't have a bet on it. I'm spitballing.
I don't have a bet in this one either, Kyle. It's the injury report. So the thing I don't like here, I remember I told you I like over last game, Kyle, Friday. It was 229, I think, and a half or something like that. Yeah, well, I bet over on Friday. Remember, I was like, I think this game's gonna be played super fast. Zion's gonna be getting downhill. I like Zion assists. He cashed that. Now Zion's listed as questionable with an illness, so I'm not sure what kind of seafood he's been eating down there, but it's probably something that made his tummy hurt. And then you got the Utah Jazz, who the only difference in the injury report here, which I think does make a difference. Not for you, I think it means more sensible, Kyle, but they have pretty much the same injury report. I'm not sure if Walker Kessler played in that game on Friday or not, but he's supposed to be back. But Colin Sexton being missing, I think is big. Utah is trying to lose games. They're trying their best. Like, their whole rotation is pretty much out. Outside of Keontae George, like they're starting Cody Williams, Jalen Williams' little brother, Walker Kessler. They got 2 starters out there, and I'm not sure if Keontae George is an actual starter in today's NBA. Maybe he is, but defensively, I just think that they're going to give up a bunch of points, especially if Messi actually plays in this game. He missed the game on Friday as well. I just look at the Pelicans. They've covered, I think, 5 straight games. I don't want to lay this big of a number with them either, especially being that they won the last one. But I think they are going to continue to play fast, Kyle. Last 5 games, they're 5th in pace, 6th in offensive efficiency, getting to about 122 points per game. I don't really see too much that's going to change in this game. Maybe they get a little bit of rim protection back on the Utah side of things. But I think Zion should still be able to play really well. The reason I didn't bet it is because he's on the injury report with an illness. I'm not sure how well he's going to be for the game. I just think it's better spots on the board, but that's how I kind of looked at it. Was I don't want Utah at all, especially without Markkanen, without Collins, without Jordan Clarkson, without Colin Sexton. Like that, those are their 4 best players in my opinion. So I guess just a lean towards the Pelicans to get up and over their team total, and probably full game to go over as well. I still don't think the Pelicans are great defensively.
I just pulled it up here. So with those 4 guys off that you just named, Bryce Sensabaugh, his usage rate is over 30%. Dude, this man becomes prime Steph Curry when those 4 guys aren't on the court. I mean, it's dramatic. That's why I bet his over the first time. His usage rate sees an 8.1% increase. He has a net rating of plus 12 when he's on the floor. His efficient field goal percentage goes up 8%. So for whatever reason, and that's in 137 minutes too, that he's been on the court without those 2 guys. So it's not like we're talking about 1 quarter. He's one of the guys that has the ball in his hands when those guys are off the floor.
Do you see numbers, Kyle, for Isaiah Collier?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Sensabaugh.
No, I love the Sensabaugh look. I think that he's definitely going to get more minutes, get more. I just see a lot of people on Isaiah Collier today on his rebounds and assists or his assists straight. Like a lot of people like Isaiah Collier today. I guess he's been clearing the number. So a lot of people were talking about that, I think.
I'm clicking on Sensabaugh, but yeah, there's no line open for him.
I don't see a line open for Sensabaugh either. I do think he's a really good look today, though. I agree with you there.
All right, let's call it. Everyone, enjoy your Monday.
You skip Chicago and Clipper. You on that Bulls free diet too? Because I am.
No, I don't.
The Bulls and the Clippers last.
I don't have that game queued up. Oh shit, I don't have the game queued up. Do you have any anything for it? I don't.
No, I don't. Bulls free diet still, Cal. I've lost a lot of weight. My skin's starting to clear up.
Oh, I know why I didn't bet it is because
both teams on the second leg of back-to-back.
One of the guys in our group is a diehard Clippers fan. Told us there's a chance Harden isn't playing tonight. He's not listed on the injury report, but he said there's a chance he's not playing tonight. So
he did play 40 minutes last night, and it's the Bulls, so makes sense. I'm not betting it either. Best of luck if you guys are invested in Chicago in any way.
Everyone, enjoy your Monday. Yeah, let's go Suns. Let's go Ohio State tonight. Hit me up at the Discord if you need me. I'll be here working all day, so you can get in touch with me. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow.